Welcome, everyone. It's Monday and live at 5. This week I wanted to do something I haven't done in a long time, and that's do a landscape with a large panoramic view. And what we're looking at here today is a place in Provence called Le Beau de Provence, B-A-U-X. As you come up the hill here to the place, it's there was one time a castle or a fortress built on top of a natural outcropping, and quite an amazing place. Long view out to, I believe that is starting to be the mountains towards Mont Saint-Victoire, that Cézanne's territory, but you have these gorgeous long views out over the olive groves and vineyards. Off to the other side, there's just these amazing rock formations and scrub pines and just beautiful, beautiful terrain. And the little shop there has hello, Renee, has these amazing carbonara potato chips. They also have pesto mozzarella potato chips. I mean, boy, talk about fun. But anyway, the task at hand is to treat a little more history about the place. The reason it's called Beau, or B-A-U-X, is because in the middle 1800s they discovered bauxite, which aluminum is made from, and it's apparently been inhabited since like 6000 BC, and so it's Celts ruled from there. And apparently some of the princes that ruled from there are supposedly ancestors of Balthasar, one of the three wise men from the Nativity. Who knows? So it could be legends. Hi, Charles. So this is the view that I want to do. But there's, you can see there's problems here. There's a pretty much a division in the middle, a large swath of same old blue and loads of detail. How do we get around that? So I'm going to crop it just a bit less sky. I'm going to go into the draw on this. It's not a dead level line, but we do want part of it to be roughly level. I think we are looking roughly east, maybe east-southeast here. The Mediterranean is off that way. The Rhone River is back this way. I want to keep that horizon line light. Now, also, there's this rock outcropping here with a tree, and I want to take that tree up perhaps a little. You notice I cropped in here so that they're I'm going to darken these things up. I don't want that fence. There's no need for that fence. That's a modern thing. Roughly, there is a horizon area in here, and there's like a plain with some hills that sort of encompass the place. And I believe that might have something to do with air currents and temperature, or something that made it a good place to grow olives and have vineyards. I remember passing a vineyard on the way in, somewhere back around in here. And it was a wine that I have had. that I bought here in Iowa. So, I don't want to draw that too much. I do maybe want to draw this ridge of mountains a little darker here. Now, what do you do about all this stuff? There's so much out there, and it's a real trap if you're not careful. There's also a rock outcropping here, and I want to use it and I want to use that cloud that looks like it's almost wanting to become an anvil cloud to be a 1, 2, 3 triangulating. Triangulating always helps with space. Now that's something I'm going to need to paint that, not draw it. So you'll see that when we put the first washes in. So the next thing is, how do we deal with all this detail? Wow. So just say along with me the magic words, multiplicity be damned, and show me the big shapes. So if we squint, what are the big shapes? Well, we've got this light shape of this vineyards here, and it's kind of a parallelogram, if you see it. We've also got a lovely little, there's the plains and the trees. So this is a shape. And this is a shape. It's a long, thin triangle. So also, look what happens. We go up, here, over, here, up, here, over, in. It's the perfect zigzag. I'm sure that's probably why I took the picture from there. So I'm going to try to locate this. It's below the horizon line. It's about in the third zone. There's a little bit of a tilt to this plane. I'm going to leave that in. We don't have to get them perfect. We just have to get them the right size and in the right place. Shape is fungible. Those trees grow. Fields get put in. There's some roads in here, or between the but I think what I'm going to do, oop, that dips. Okay. Oop. The BBC has something to tell me. Okay. There's a lovely little... So the next thing I need to do is find that shape in there that's basically a plane. Looking for the big shapes. They're the ones that tell us the space. All of these things over 6 plus 2, like 8,000 years of inhabitants here, I'm sure trees show up or disappear or reappear in all manner of places. That line probably didn't change too much over 8,000 years. So maybe we got to stick with that guy. So now this is not a lot of drawing, I know. But when you find big shapes and you know where they're at, then that's usually a good way to think of them as, what would we call it, anchor points or reference points to where we're going to build this composition around. So now we're going to go to the early washes. So what I like to do with a long view landscape is I like to pre-plan what is the progression of color, the hue, the value, and the chroma from the distance to what's closest to me. So, of course, bluer and maybe a little grayer in the back, possibly a little lighter, but not always. You have to look at what you're viewing. Sometimes the dark thing's in back, and sometimes the light thing is in the front. So, on the whole, if you squint at it, it's bluish, gray-green, more discernibly green, these tans underneath. Different character of green, more yellowish golden green, bronzy green here. Very important with a landscape and a lot of greens, and this is the time of year when we'll be getting out there and fooling with that. Delegate your greens. Make sure that you see the difference between these trees are probably all very much the same species. Those way back there. Make sure you see the difference between the far ones, the medium distance ones, and the close ones. Now, for colors, I've got all the usual suspects. We're going to use lots of blues and a few yellows. Neutral tint, ultramarine, which I need to dampen a bit. Cobalt, cerulean, cobalt turquoise, Prussian, cad orange, cad yellow, yellow ochre, red iron oxide, need to wet it up. Quinacridone rose, naphthol red, Holbein lavender. As you can see, I've got quite a few blues. I've got 6 blues. And this oddball nickel quinacridone yellow, so I've got 3 yellows. Orange, if you think of that as a yellow. Couple of reds. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the next thing. What are the underneath colors? I'm not going to get tripped out by the fact that there's white on that cloud, because these rocks are brighter and lighter. So I need to tone that down a wee bit so that I can preserve those. And I can't exactly even make those white because they're a little bit off-white. So what I'm going to paint first, and there's going to be a lot of the hair drying. I apologize ahead of time. I'm going to paint the very, very lightest colors that appear underneath here, and it'll just look like, what's all that? And then we're going to be going back. So I'm going to need, I think, I'm going to make a puddle here, and I'm going to reach across and get some of that color that I used last week for the Roman stone, the jaune brilliant. And you probably can't even see this. It's not even going to register, but it's going to be very runny. Let's just stick it up here so you can watch it. There he is. It's titanium white and cad yellow and something else. Gonna make a fair bit of that. Runny paint. Using the Big Squirrel number 16 round. Then, when I get down here, continue that, I'm going to smuggle in a little bit of raw sienna to pick this up. And then I'm going to switch to a cooler, lighter color. Maybe I'll put a little bit of the lavender into it. So I should probably pre-mix that as well. Let's get a bit of our raw. I've got some raw sienna off to the side. It's a little bit closer to this Provence earth yellow than yellow ochre. But I will need the yellow ochre when I get it up into here. So there I've got two colors ready to go. I'll pull in with that. Okay, so wash. See, you probably can't even see that. It's going to look like nothing. And I'm painting over where that cloud's going to be because the cloud has to be a little bit darker than those rocks and some of the roads and things in here. Now this is where I'm going to start bringing in the raw sienna. And lighter in the back, more prominent in the front. I don't worry about runs. We got a lot of dark colors that are going to go over top of this. So the only thing I have to worry about is not getting into these rocks right about here. Well, I'm going to even leave, I should have left more of these little white specks because I could have passed those off as like houses or something. Blotting the brush, evacuating this stuff, and then I'm going to get the lavender and a fair bit of water, and I'm going to touch that. So again, this is a runny mix of paint, if you can see that run. And let these colors mingle. It's very, very important when you're doing a small scale painting, which all paintings are small scale compared to the landscape that you're looking at, that you merge your initial colors as much as you can at first so that you don't paint all these things separately. One and two, I'm going to paint this thing, I'm going to paint that thing. Because if you stand there and you let your eye go out there and look at this thing, your eye is going to adjust for that distance, for that illumination, and you're going to see cars and people even. It's crazy. Your eye is just that good. So I am going to mute and go to the hairdryer. All right. Now, I need to start getting into my blues. So I'm going to need runny blues. So I'm going to just mop out these pockets. I'll leave that one there. Got an issue here. That's lighter than that. Might have to turn this thing upside down for a moment. Because the board's at a 45, the table is at a 45-degree angle here, the water is going to run downhill. I have to visualize this cloud upside down. Good luck, John. Okay. I'm going to start here at the horizon with I might even use some of that pale blue there, but I am going to need a bit of cerulean. Which I will start with that, and then add more cerulean as I go to the top here. Okay, let's start with the Holbein lavender. It's just a pale, runny mix. Doesn't matter if I get in there because some of that's going to be darker, right? Now I'm going to my cerulean. Boy, oh boy, I have to visualize this cloud backwards. More cerulean. You know what? I am just going to, the easier thing to do. Always look for the easier thing to do. Going to let that stuff collect at the bottom so it gets darker there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to mop that shape out. So this part, blot that brush to get, see how I'm getting the water out of it. I'm going to try to soften this edge while it's damp. Because the top edge of the cloud is harder than the bottom edge of the cloud. And I'm also going to mop the excess there. Now I think I can flip it back this way. Oh goodness, that's going to look like a weird cloud. We'll blame it on the Mistral, right? So I'll take some of the darker blue that I used for the top of the sky, and I'm going to put a little bit of the quinacridone rose in it. And I'm going to try to make these show a little bit more, maybe. Perhaps a little bit of that lavender, Holbein lavender. I don't have to make this cloud. I'm going to make a cloud. I just need a big thing to triangulate with that rock and that rock. Geez, I think this could even be a little more. It's not going to look like much at first. May not look like much when I get done with it. We'll see. Always remember that any painting can go south on you. And that's not a bad thing. It's a learning thing. No such thing as a bad painting. They're only instructive paintings. Now we are down to that horizon. This is where I'm going to switch to a slightly smaller mop. And I want this edge to stay somewhat wet. So into that, I'm going to mix a little bit of cobalt turquoise, well, just some other blues, different blues than what I've been using. Cobalt, ultramarine. A little bit stiffer, in other words, meaning more pigment, less water than what I've been using. And I'm going to try to work off of that wet edge. so that it's soft and looks very distant. And as I come down the page, I'm going to skip little bits here and there, and I'm going to try to make it look like a long, let's see, bluer, grayer. Now, when you skip a spot at this distance, you want to make sure that the spots that you skip are much smaller than the spots you skip here, which are much smaller than the spots you skip here and here, and so, you know, and so on and so forth. Now, over here, there's what is it? I believe it's the Appeals. It's a mountain range. It's a little browner. Browner grayer. So I've taken a little bit of the red iron oxide and some of this. And I'm going to try to paint those. Now we're starting, we got to keep a wet edge here. Or an edge where you know that when I can change a color so I can disguise any differences. We can also go back and glaze. Things need to start to get a little greener here. So I'm going into the cobalt turquoise. And I'm going to get into, it's very distant, so I'm going to use the yellow ochre. So I need a distant, well, let's use ultramarine and yellow ochre. Of all my blue-yellow combinations, my most dull will be the yellow ochre and the blue. Remember, I try to leave some little skips for these areas. Now, I will darken that just ever so much. In other words, more pigment. Less water as I come forward. And I'm looking for stopping points, like here. If I go silent, it's because I'm trying to concentrate. Ay, mamma mia. A little more yellow ochre. Maybe a little bit greener blue like the Prussian. Squinting, 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 trying to see where do I have open areas, where do I have trees. This won't be the last green that goes in. Back here, into that a little bit, because that's further away than this, a little bit of the lavender, which is a sort of a grayish blue. Okay. Now I'm going to have to switch to a kind of more vibrant green that's lighter. more yellow in it. So ultramarine and the brighter yellow rather than the yellow ochre. Now I can put darker things on top of this. And I will. This is when I start looking forward to, or looking ahead to, where are these little roads and white buildings and things like that. And if you lose them, don't worry, because you can go back in and lift, or you can go back in and with a gouache or something, who knows. So I'm looking and I'm squinting and I'm seeing my greens are getting a little darker and a little, what would you say, more vibrant, a little darker and a little more vibrant. So ultramarine or cobalt, and the cad yellow because I need a more of a vibrant green. Maybe not quite that vibrant. And if it's too dark, a little bit of water. So now here's where I have to get careful. I can stop because that tree there is a very standalone, darker thing. In here, these trees can and will be darker. And you can adjust. That green needs to be much lighter. So up in the corner, with a little bit of yellow ochre, I'll put a bit of water to it. However, this bit needs to be darker. Okay, coming down through here, coming down through here. Oh boy. Ultramarine, cobalt, maybe even some Prussian, because we need a zippier green or blue as we're coming forward. See, my brightest green is going to be made by the Prussian and either the nickel azo or the cad yellow. So as I come forward, these are the greens I'm going to be using. Try to leave some white spots in there. Over here by the rock, it's a little grayer. I'm going to put some of that lavender in it. More lavender. I'm just adjusting my green to be darker, to be duller, to be bluer, to be yellower as I go. And praying the whole time, oh my gosh, it's going to turn into something. We will see, we will see. Now up here, these will not be the last greens. There are going to be more greens. I need to get a fairly vibrant green. I have not used the quinacridone. See, that's a bronzy. Okay, that's probably what I should be using up here, right? Let's get that in there. There are going to be darker colors going on top of that, don't worry. Now, I'm going to put some cerulean in that to get a bluer, weirder green. Now, see, I haven't done that mix before. So when you've got a lot of blues and a few yellows, you can come up with a wild mixture of greens. Geez, have I showed that green chart before? Maybe I should. Now this green down here needs to be kind of specific, different than anything else I've done yet. So maybe if I put some yellow and lavender, cad yellow and lavender, that is a bizarre mix. But it makes a very interesting green. It is particularly good for, in the next few weeks, we are going to be seeing greens here in Iowa that will be really well accomplished by using greens made out of Holbein lavender and cad, or a bright yellow like cad yellow. It's just an interesting thing. Now, I do need a very grayish, so I'm putting more of the lavender in there. Lavender, it's a blue, but it functions as a gray. So lavender plus yellow ochre makes a very grayish green. And I need something coming down here, some Provençal, dry climate, grayish greens. Now, is there any that, oh yeah, there's some of the, jeez, ladybugs. Some olive trees in there. Things back there. All right, now I may have to dry this, and we will be getting back to our next darker sections of greens and blues. Well, all right, let's get into a yet smaller brush that holds less paint. And I think I'm at the stage where I want to try, perhaps out of that, with a little more blue from cobalt and lavender. Back here, that distant, oh, no, that's, maybe that'll work. They're not high enough to not have trees even at the top. So slower moving paint now. This is already dry, so I'm just going to start this process. I don't think I need to get the hairdryer out. I'll just work back here because that's already dry. Down here, it's still wet. Now that, what I've just been doing, plus a little water, squint. Multiplicity be damned. Look for the pattern, the big shape. Click your heels together and say, show me the pattern. Show me the pattern. Don't detail it too much because it's the distance. And the distance has to stay in the distance. Now back here, this has to be subtle. A clean mix of, say, cobalt and a fair amount of water. And just to get the softness, the extra softness, I'm going to start with a line of clear water. And then go to bringing up underneath it the pigment. More. A little bit more. So the progression, foreground or background to foreground, grayer to more vivid, bluer to warmer colors or less non-blue colors. Lighter colors to darker colors. Bigger shapes to smaller shapes. Smaller shapes to bigger shapes. Boy, I'm saying that backwards. Hi, Carol. Okay, now I'm coming down into here, and I want to put a bit of ultramarine into that grayish mix because I'm still pretty far in the background. And I want to start picking out, as you can see, on the, it's about 2:30 in the afternoon. On the side of the tree, it's dark, but on the top, it's lighter. So that's what I'm trying to find. And I want to kind of zigzag my way forward if I can get away with it. Do a test to make sure I'm not too dark. The background is a background. Now, the other thing you have to do at this point, you have to look at your painting and say, what have I got? I may not have exactly what's there. You have to paint your painting, not be a slave to the subject. Like I say, 8,000 years, this place has gone through some changes. I can see why this would have been a real good fortress, because you're up at a very high elevation, and you can pretty much see anything coming from miles and miles and miles away. So now we've got a line of trees here that we're probably protecting from wind or whatever. The vineyard behind it. Keeping a medium value blue here because I do need to go pretty dark there and pretty dark there. So small marks that are trees. The bases of these tree lines should be fairly flat and straight. The top edge should be broken, and it will help it to look tree-like. If the bottom edge of a tree line or an area of foliage is raggedy and irregular, it's not going to look like it's sitting on the ground. I'm going to put a little bit of red in it as I come forward. Some purplish, darker, redder. But I may be too, I'm going to tester. I'm going to do a tester. There's a road in there. When you do a tester, if your color is too light, Put more pigment in and come back pretty fast. If it's too dark, put more water in it and then come back. But lighter here, darker there. And to do that, I may actually have to make my greens a little darker as well. So it's like salt or cayenne pepper. Throw in a little, taste it. See what's happening. Yep, need to go to some darker greens. Okay, now, what have I got? I've got some cobalt blue up here. Just a minute, I need to take a sip so I don't get dry throat. Okay, it's easier to talk now. I'm going to get some of that cad yellow. Dull it down maybe with, ooh, that's a terrible color, but we'll use it somewhere else. We'll leave it there. Might be a place for it. We'll see. I guess that wasn't the right yellow. Let's get a yellow over here. Cad yellow. Ultramarine. Try it somewhere. A little bit on the dark side, but it looks like it's going to be good for here. These trees are closer than these trees, but it's not as close as that tree. So I'm going to put a wee bit of water with that. Maybe a little yellow ochre just to take it down. See, my greens are getting a little more vibrant as I come forward, and they're getting a little darker as I come forward, and the shapes are getting a little bigger as I come forward. And you can BS your way forward in space. Use the side of the brush sometimes. There's some little, gosh, I don't know whether those are olives or what the heck they are. All right, cobalt, yellow ochre. Cobalt is a very pure blue. It's too dark. It's just a smidge of water. Now, as you come forward, you're seeing more of the front of the tree and less of the top of the tree. Now I'm going to get into that guy we're going to finish last. I'm going to put a bit of ultramarine into that, tiny bit of the quinacridone rose. And while this is damp, I'm going to try to get some of these darker bits that are the front of the tree that we see at 2:30 in the afternoon. Now these shapes are going to be bigger in the front. Smaller and closer together as they go back, and possibly even lighter. Not even possibly, definitely lighter. And if you're working with a landscape where the light is coming from one side, keep it consistent. Don't have it dark on both sides if the light is coming in from the side. Find out which side is causing the light and which side is showing the shade, and keep it consistent. And you'll get away with it. You can change it radically, and you'll get away with it. Oh, no, wait, I was doing, let's see. ultramarine blue, a little bit of a little bit of quinacridone rose. So, oh my goodness, there's a big dark shadow in here. Just squint, see where it is in here too. But there's trees and then there's rock, and that's going to have to be a little bit different. My goodness. More detail than anybody wants to look at. Remember, scale. I'm painting at, say, 9 by 12 or 11 by 15 or whatever your 12 by 16 or whatever your canvas or your paper is. And you say, all right, I'm looking at 50 miles worth of real estate. You've got to be foxy about what you're actually going to show. Oh, and look for what actually does show. Because if you let your eyes stray out to that distance, when your mind reconstructs that image behind your eyeball with neurochemicals, it's going to be large, it's going to be clear, it's going to be vibrant, but it's not going to look like what it looks like when you're keeping in your field of vision the entire thing. So we have to do that. Now I'm getting close here. I think right now I'm going to put in this purplish blue. I'm going to put some turquoise in that. I'm going to try to get the shadowed side of this rock. Which means I'm also going to have to go to some darker blue. I'm going to put a little bit of neutral tint in that. It's a very amazing limestone, or to me it looked like some kind of limestone. I don't know. I'm not a geologist, but gosh, it's the color of it was so pretty. It was just beautiful. And local buildings are made from it, and oh my goodness, such a beautiful place. Everywhere. You know, we have beautiful limestone right on the Mississippi. It's worth trying to find. Now over here, the light's coming in from this way. Yeah, okay, I think this way. So that's why the shade is on this side. So I don't... Now I need to start making individual... Let's take care of this. That's more important. Don't get into the little details here until you've got the big areas there. So I need a green that is vibrant. That means the cad yellow or the Nicolazo yellow, and maybe the turquoise or the cobalt turquoise. Leave some of that bronzy yellow-green behind. Gosh, it's probably too small to splatter. So I'm going to try to dance the tip to get irregular shapes and make it look like, I hope, foliage. Okay. There are other things that are going to go in here. You'll see. So let's put that into Prussian. This is our closest green. So our most vibrant blue is going to be the Prussian. Vibrant dark blue is going to be the Prussian, and I think that nickel quinacridone color. So I'm saving my darkest greens for this foreground element. I'm not going to use that dark, well, I could maybe get a little bit of that in there. Nowhere back here. I shouldn't do that. Maybe a little bit in here, maybe a little bit in there. Now, there is some, looks like little olive trees being done there. Well, doggone it. Now, don't fuss around with the details, John. This is where you can get into trouble. You see stuff like that. Ooh, I got to get that. Ooh, I got to get that. No, you don't. You got to get these big shapes first. Okay, so this is going to be a bluish greenish color. Wet dull. Do a test. Do a test. They're squares. They're parallelograms. Look for them. Gosh, vineyards. I could paint vineyards all day long. My golly, they're so cool. Don't go too far back. If you do, put a little water in it, because it's further away, and making it lighter will make it look further away. I can still probably come in with some darker greens, but not yet. Not yet. That little area there, it's not little, it's a large-ish area. The top of it, we can see the trees. Some more dark, again, I am. I have to look at my painting and get some clues from the reference, but mainly I have to look at my painting. Because I need it to look like it's really far away and there's lots and lots of things going on there. Now here, I might be able to do some splattering down there. So pointing the point of the brush pointing away from the sky, smearing up and out the way a plant would grow. Okay, there's some trees. Dark tree colors here. So now I can start getting into those smaller marks, I think. Going to have to do something interesting with that rock. We will, and this one too, that needs a little bit of work. Some bigger shapes in here. Okay, here we go. Ultramarine, maybe even Prussian, a little bit of that funky brownish red that I came up with earlier. I thought maybe I'll use it later. We will. Crags in the rock. Now I have to start being really selective. I need to start getting some yellow ochre for like that, for example. These little vineyard rose, a gray green, so these rows of olive trees. Remember, you're going to see those close, but you're not going to see them too much far away. Unless you're looking out there, then you will, your eye will adjust and you will see them. You'll see them all the way out there. But you have to forget, don't forget, my painting has here, here, and here. So I can't just be staring out there and finding stuff and putting it in, because the viewer won't know where they are at. Something turquoise-ish. Cobalt turquoise, the magic color. Never mixes an ugly color. Always looks pretty. Always is useful. Okay, let's take care of, I'm going to get some of that turquoise in a bit more water. Do my distance. Now, what you can't see, and what's very hard for me to tell you, is that while I'm painting this, in the back of my mind, I'm there again. And I remember what it felt like. It was June. It was hot. And it was heartbreakingly pretty. Okay, now within that tan area, I need to differentiate that a bit. Oh, what do I use? I'm going to use my raw sienna. A runny mix of raw sienna, a little bit of a glaze. I want that to come forward. I need this rock shadow to be a little bit darker. That area too. This area too. This area too. These are glazes, just runny ultramarine. Slow-moving ultramarine with a little bit of quinacridone. Here. Here, again, I'm looking at my painting. And I'm trying to find what might that be. think I need darker tree line here. It's against the light. Okay. No more fooling with that until I figure out this rock here. I've got some weedy business. So that brownish weird mix that I came up with earlier is going to work out for this. Don't want that fence. Let's see, what was... So this tree is that. What else is going on here? I suppose I could bring some of this sage-like stuff in. Let's do that. It's a good place to put your signature when you don't know what to do with an area. Put your signature there. Now, like this rock, this side of it should be bluish. So let's put some shade on it, or some backlight, reflected light. And at this point, where's my blue? I think I need a little more blue back here. Tie that area together. Yeah, I feel better about that because it's more of, I'm trying to get the look of, so these are glazes. The surface is dry. It's got a green color on there already. I'm trying to get that horseshoe bend of stuff that probably makes this a great place to make wine. So okay, that is where I'm going to leave it before I screw it up. Now let's detape and see what we got. Maybe that will tell us something. Oops. Oops. Fumble fingers today. Yep, I think I need a little bit of, again, it's one of those things I'm going to have to look at my painting and not the subject to see. But the thing I want to get across is that always, always, always check for that progression of color as the landscape comes forward or goes backwards. In space, because there's going to be, even if it's the same stuff, green trees, whatever, it's going to have to be lighter or grayer or bluer or something. It shouldn't look exactly like a green tree in the front and a green tree even an 1/8 of a mile away. Has to look a little different. Or they're going to sit in the same space. So I'm going to put in some micro mini little details here. That, remember I was saying, if you've got a tree line, the bottom of the tree line should be straight. And be mindful of where the light is so that you know if it's coming from one side or the other side, it has to be consistent. Don't have dark things on two sides of something. Or if the light is coming at you or away from you, not on the bottoms and the tops of things. More detail toward you, less detail away from you. Always look for those underneath colors, which will usually be your light colors, and get them in as a big wash. And that's what's going to go a long way towards tying the landscape together so that it looks like one contiguous piece of geography and not a bunch of little things that have been stitched together because they've all been seen in a piecemeal fashion. Okay, that's where I think I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to stare at it. So, well, no, doggone it. Some yellow ochre brownish kind of thing. See that loopy little thing there? That's not good. It needs to be squared off. But when you're looking at that landscape, and there's 1,000 million things out there, try to find those big shapes, the parallelogram shapes. Try to look for those progressions that lead the eye back into the distance. We could still put in and keep your greens different. Foreground to background. Bluer greens, grayer greens in the back. And remember when you've got your colors to mix. My brightest green that's dark is going to come from the cad yellow and the Prussian blue. My brightest green that's light is going to come from the cad yellow and the cobalt turquoise. A little duller with the cerulean, a little duller with the ultramarine, cobalt, we'll see. Duller still with the lavender, most dull if I mix it with the neutral tint. So you've got a big range of greens, and maybe I'll make a lesson of that. I've touched on it before, but it's worth reviewing again because summer's coming and we're going to be dealing with those doggone greens and what's all the different greens that we can get out of a relatively small palette. So I think this is where I can leave it. I could go in maybe with say the Jaune Brilliant or the Titanium White and just using it right out of the tube. I could put in some little buildings or vineyards. I'm going to want to do things that I make sure that I'm not just putting dots willy-nilly. I need to make sure that they're actually doing something. Leading the eye or stopping the eye. I don't want to do too much of that, I don't think. Yeah, that's about enough. Ooh, wait a minute. I see something. Oh. I think there could be a transitional blue between this blue and that blue. And I'm going to do it with cerulean and a bit of water. This is a glaze. Yeah, that's I think a little better. Okay, and that's it. Always be thinking space. Make your judgments by virtue of what does this look like when this is my primary field of vision. Triangulate shapes if you can. That's always a nice thing to do. And hopefully that was useful. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all stay safe and sane, and peace out.